Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And are you ready to talk about what's going on in our council meetings and our various organized political groups that are making legislation for us little citizens?
Well said.
Okay. And
Let's
for you
do
too.
it.
Okay. Let's again start with the Oxford Village Council. A number of issues were talked about, and we talked about appointment of the DDA. I think that's a subject that has
Membership
been booming
Membership and people?
for the board. And
Were names mentioned?
there were names mentioned. As a matter of fact, there were not only names mentioned, there were a selection of people. They were interviewed, and then a selection was made later on in the meeting. You're
Question.
wondering who that is, right?
Well, there's a couple of things I would like to know. One is, of course, who they are, but did they adjust the number of people on the DDA?
No, they're
No.
still going to keep the same number of membership
Okay.
as the charter has indicated. There's no reason to change that. But let me talk about some of the people that came for the interview.
All right.
One of the people was Philip Maxwell, and he's in the district, and he's a minister. He has a church. He's been here just for a short period of time. He discussed the fact that he does have a good relationship with his parishioners, and they confide in him certain issues that are going on within the community. So that's a good thing. We have some feedback.
Unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
privileged.
It could be, yes. It's so strange how that old grapevine actually works, you know? It seems to squeak out every once in a while. But anyway, so he was selected. Another individual was Philip Maxwell. And Philip is an attorney in town. And what's interesting is when
What was the pastor's name?
his name was Kevin Miles.
Oh, okay.
Philip Maxwell, the attorney, when he did an application or a resume, before the council, there was nothing there, just Philip Maxwell. So first question I had is, I'm new, I have no idea who you are. And I was hoping to get a little preliminary information. So he commenced to tell me all about his history and background and so forth, and very astute with what's going on in the community. Very impressive. Very sure of himself in terms of the way he thinks that the village ought to go. Very business-oriented individual.
What kind of lawyer is he?
Well, that's a question that's difficult to answer because when you pass the law, the bar, you're capable of falling into any type law or.
But generally, your practice centers on something.
He deals mostly with businesses downtown.
Okay.
I'm sure he deals with real estate.
That's good.
Those kind of things. But he probably doesn't handle criminal cases more than likely if he's doing that type of work. Although if it's a large enough law practice, he could do that too. But he could actually do any type of law practice he wants to do. So that's a tough question to ask somebody with a doctorate degree from law because they can do it all if they want.
Oh.
Or
He's got a doctor's degree?
well, that's what an attorney is a doctorate's degree.
Juris Doctor.
It is. So anyway, so he puts a lot of years in order to get that. But so anyway, very impressive. He was one individual that they interviewed, and he was brought onto the board.
Okay.
There was Rod Charles. Anyone that doesn't know Rod Charles
No.
out there, very active in the community. Has a pretty good background too, in the financial area, which I found rather
But once he
interesting.
took that mask off, we knew who he was.
Yeah, he's a banker. No, he's not. He's not a banker.
Well, he was a big promoter of
Bankers,
the Lone
right?
Ranger parade and everything. Yeah.
Bankers ride horses? I don't think
That's
so.
true.
Yeah. Anyway, so Rod gave a presentation, answered some questions. Of course, his history and what he's accomplished in the past, and he has some great hopes, for the DDA to move on beyond what's occurred in the past and make it better.
He's good.
So,
He's a shaker and mover.
he is a shaker and a mover, or a mover and a shaker, however you
Okay.
want to say it. Another gentleman that came forward and gave a good presentation, matter of fact, I would say a great presentation, is Pete Schultz.
Oh, he's on the planning commission, isn't he?
No, he's not.
He's not.
He's fire
Maybe-
chief.
Oh, fire chief. I was thinking of another Schultz.
How long have you been here?
Oh,
Fire chief, I thought everybody
Hey, I don't
knew.
do these meetings anymore.
You need a fire.
I'm
No,
starting
he
to
doesn't
lose
go to
track.
Brandon. Does he go to Brandon? I don't think he goes to
no,
Brandon.
no.
That's probably why you don't know him.
Yeah.
All those fires you have out there. Yeah, right. Okay.
We
So, yeah, Pete is a very interesting guy in the fact that he has a strong financial background,
Mm-hmm.
understands government finance, has gone after grants. Lots of different history comes with Mr. Schultz. And when it came time, they said, "Do you have any questions?" You know, and each of the council members have a chance to then ask their questions. And I said, "He's answered them all for me. I don't need any questions."
There is no
So-
particular conflict at all between him being an employee of the village and the?
None.
No, okay,
He's a resident here too. So,
okay, that's
yeah.
good.
So Pete Schultz. Another individual that they interviewed was Sharon Shore, and she's a
Seen that.
homeowner.
Okay,
And she lives in town, actually not too far from where Bill Dunn lives.
oh,
And her background, she was in charge of distribution at a large company at one time. But that was a number of years ago, as she pointed out. Doesn't have a strong background in finance. She is a designer, but she runs a designing company out of her home. She's a people kind of person. So I think what she's going to bring to the table is, again, you know, feedback, you know, from the community. I think she's probably the type of person that will go out and dig for information also.
That's good.
Ask the questions.
That's
So,
good.
they need somebody, and those are the people. Those are the ones that were brought on.
And there were others.
Well, let me say that there's two different terms too. There's two terms that expire in 2014, and Mr. Schultz was put on that, and Miles, you know, the minister, was put on the 2-year program, and Rod Charles and Susan Schur was put on a term which ends in 2016.
Okay.
So that will set up the DDA to the point that they are now off and ready to run. And Bill Dunn is
And
doing
better
an
luck next-
Irish jig, even
Right.
though he's a Scotsman.
And as they say, better luck next time.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a next time. I'm really impressed, you know,
Well,
with
right,
the
you know,
people they have.
from the previous
You have to be
financial-
positive here, you know, and
Well, I
being
know that.
positive,
I-
we have to take a break, and I'm positive we'll be back. I hope we will. Can I? Okay. Can we talk about it during intermission? Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols, and
I'm Dave Kenny.
we just got through talking about the village council.
Right, right.
New DDA
New DDA
members,
members, they've refreshed that board and,
new organization, and we have Rod Charles is going to get on the horse and ride. Hi, old Silver.
absolutely.
He's one of the people. Anyway, that's great to have all these people that are interested in working with the DDA and developing it. And by the way, there's going to be money in that account. It's just a matter of time. Some of it's starting to roll in now.
And with the new faces, there'll be a new dynamic on the board, as they say.
Yes. Let's now talk about the Township Board of Trustees.
Let's do that.
Okay, that was held on October 9th. Bill Dunn, of course, is the chairperson. Everybody knows that Jack Curtis is pretty active on that board as well. Curtis Wright, of course, the treasurer and so forth. When they first opened the meeting, they opened it up to public hearings. Anybody that, you know, wanted to speak about
That's-
items that aren't on the agenda.
That's the normal part of the agenda.
It is.
Yeah.
Except, I think they let a grizzly bear in. And the reason why I say that is because this lady came in, and I have her name here, but we won't use her name.
Okay.
Very upset. Apparently, she had called about trucks traveling on Coates Road down near the
That's a
Seymour
gravel
Lake.
road, isn't it?
Yeah, Seymour Lake area.
Yeah.
and very upset that all these trucks are all of a sudden coming back and forth. And she called the township, and I understand became quite heated, with the township supervisor, and was not happy with the supervisor's information. And the information that he had was, one, he would check into it. He's not aware of what's going on right now at this point, with that road, but would check into it. That it is, however, a road that's designed for heavy vehicles, that kind of thing. There would be very little or anything that he could do about it, but he would get back with her. When
This
she
is,
got,
Co- this is Coates Road where?
I don't know.
No, I
You
mean,
know?
it's a long road, and not crossing, say,
Canada.
Seymour Lake.
He was up in Canada.
But Coates Road, wasn't Coates Road where the DDA was, not the DDA, but the Parks and Rec Department was supposed to move?
Yes.
At one time?
At one time.
Okay.
But that's not what the issue we're talking about. We're
Well,
talking
no,
about trucks
I'm doing location here. Okay, let's go.
and a very angry citizen.
Right.
And you're gonna have a very angry co-host here if you keep this up.
Was she?
I don't care where it's at. Okay,
They're there.
right. So,
No, wait,
anyway,
was she made to resolve her problem?
no, she left very unhappy.
Oh,
The grizzly bear went out the door. And immediately after that eruption, I say eruption rather than, right after that, Ron Davis stood up. And he came to the podium and.
Parks and Rec.
Right, Parks and Rec. He was giving his report. But he said, before I give my report, he said, I do know what's going on with the Coates Road thing. He said, I could answer it for her. And he attempted to do that, but she went out the door and left. So.
No, wait, there's more.
There's more. And so he said, what the deal is that they need to level out a field rolling area on the Seymour Park. And the value of stripping it and redoing it so that it's usable, for kids to play and so forth, the value was $125,000. And those trucks and taking away the dirt that needed to be taken away and doing the landscaping and everything was all provided free by 3 different companies in this area.
Well, that was
So it
very
didn't-
nice of them.
Right, didn't cost the township a penny to do it. And so he said, that if she would have given me time, I could have, told her what it was all about, and that project is just about to be finished. So, anyway, so that's the other part. And by the way, he apologized to Bill Dunn, who he said, if I'd have known that bullet was coming, Bill.
The bear would be dancing and not roar.
Right. So anyway, hopefully she'll get it by either watching OCCTV.org.
Very good.
Or, maybe through the grapevine.
Well, those things happen.
Yeah, she goes to the same church as the gentleman that's on the DDA. He'll fill her in. What went on?
Well, good,
Probably,
good.
more likely. I hope. Okay. Ron Davis also talked about the grant that Enbridge had provided. It's $22,000 grant,
That's
which
the
is
oil
kind of
company.
nice.
That's the oil company.
Yep, that's the oil company. For repairs of, of the trail and other things that the money is for. So that's kind of a neat thing.
Which trail?
I don't know, one of the trails out there that comes next to the park, I know that.
Okay.
That's about as much as I know too.
All right.
I'll tell you what, why don't you do the research on that one and let us know next time.
Why, I think I will.
You're gonna do that from Italy. You're going to Italy, right?
Yes, I am. Ciao.
How now, Brown Chow? Okay. Anyway, then they talked about budgets. Before they talked about the budget, though, they went into ordinances, and there wasn't anything prepared at this point to be published, for the people for the ordinance that they proposed. So, Zappo, they went right to the budgets. And they went through a bunch of them. They went through the library budget, which is over 1.2 million or so that was allocated. Lease contracts, 16,000. Parks and Rec, a little over $1 million. And when it was all said and done, it was roughly around 12 to 13 million that they authorized in spending on the budget. So.
And
yeah,
it looks good?
it looks good. They went through the budget, of course, before this, and it's just a process of approving it at this point.
Well, Oxford has done a very good job of managing their money.
Mhm.
A lot of communities are not in such fortunate circumstances.
Yep. And I think the credit to that, I mean, you got Bill Dunn that watches money. You've got Joe Ferrari, who was, you know, squatting on a money pack. And, of course, the new dude that's running around over there, Jack Curtis. And there's others too, you know, and they're very cognizant that, you know, this money doesn't fall out of trees. It comes from the people called taxes. And want to keep it as tight as possible. So, and operating efficiently. Good move. I'm not done with that, though. They talked about safety path. Jack Curtis has been involved with that. They're in the process of connecting various safety paths
Oh, that's good.
throughout the township.
I know they did a lot of work along Seymour Lake Road.
They did, and they're gonna do more before they're finished.
Good.
And then it'll be pretty neat. People will be able to travel from this end all the way down to that end,
That other end.
that other end. Okay, now, the other thing that came up was the 911 dispatch. Yeah,
At the township level.
at the township level.
Oh,
Bill Dunn brought up the contract, and in the contract, it indicates that it's recommended by insurance company NFPA that there be 2 dispatchers on all the time.
now we're talking about the village of
Village
Oxford.
of Oxford, where they
Okay,
get
all
their
right, all right.
dispatch. And they provide funding, you know, for that, so.
Sure.
They went into that, discussed that for some time. Mr. Schultz, the fire chief was there, Pete, and he said that if somebody is out on a fire, fighting a fire, and it's a dangerous situation that's occurring, that the person in charge, the fireman there, would require that the dispatcher, you know, stay on the phone. So that means Bill's saying, well, if that happens and another emergency comes in, what do they do? Well, there's a problem. Let's discuss that when we come back, just for
Okay.
a moment. We will return right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we were just talking about trustees meeting
Yeah.
that they had, and the 911 issue. Not quite finished with that. There was a question of liability also that came up. That, let's say there's only one dispatcher on, and something happens out on the scene because the dispatcher didn't have enough help,
Which represents what they
Right.
do now.
which represents what they do now. That could place somebody in a liability type situation. And so he was concerned about that. Now, at this point, Robert Davis jumps to his feet and comes to the podium. You're probably wondering who he is.
Legal.
He is a legal guy. He's an attorney. And he's a very good attorney. He works for the township and for the village. And he did some research on this, and he said that the recommendation from NFPA is only a recommendation. And where they do set points, and which determines what your rates are going to be paid, you know, every year. So Bill Dunn is concerned with that part of course, because if your rate isn't low enough, I mean, they're gonna increase your cost.
Well, it becomes a question of how much.
Right, and that's what he says. Too much is too much. Doesn't want to pay it. So what is determined on actually right now, because there aren't 2 dispatchers on, there's only 1 usually, but yet they rate them as a 2. So Mr. Davis says, well, I want to find out why they did that or how they could do that when you don't have their criteria in place, but two dispatchers. So he's thinking, from what he's read, is that it's determined by the volume of calls and the response and the efficiency of the dispatch group is what they base it on instead. But he wants to find that out for sure. And the township representative said, okay, do that and then give us a report back, because we are interested in finding out, you know, what's
good.
going on here. So that pretty much concludes the trustee meeting. Pretty
Wonderful.
interesting.
Wonderful. They
If it
got a
wasn't
lot
for the
done.
bear, it wouldn't even be interesting at all, probably.
Well, I usually call those the torches and pitchfork meetings.
Yes, I know. The next meeting we're going to talk about is the Economic Development Subcommittee. Jack Curtis is the chairperson. You have Todd Bell on it and Ed Hunwick, which are all pretty good people. They talked about the One-Stop Initiative in Oakland County. And you're somewhat familiar with that, right?
Right, right. Basically, businesses that want to make a change to their business or even come in as a new business, instead of going through several steps, would go through a one-step operation and be prepared to present their case to the Planning Commission.
Right, and that applies to the developers as well. What they are saying is that rather than have 50 different steps and tabling each situation, to have the right people, the right decision makers there when these developers and these people, even if they're building a garage, you know, onto their house, have the right people there that those decisions can be made. He cited an example in Pontiac, I believe, as a project that they were doing. And if they were to stick to the old regimen of doing things, the project would never have gotten off the ground. But there's one council member that sat on the board and he said, now wait a minute, there's got to be a way that we can make this work. Everybody else says, no, it won't work because it's against the ordinances and so forth, and it's
Tradition.
yeah, yeah, it's just not you know, in a situation where it's usable, the property. And he said, no, let's look at it, let's see what we can do. So they took the attitude that until everything was exhausted, you know, where the answer came out no, they were going to go ahead with it. So they did, and guess what?
What?
They changed some things in their ordinances. They allowed some other things to occur by making regulations. They did all these things and they made it work. And consequently, a large company came into the Pontiac area, all because one person said, you can't say it can't be done because it can be done.
So really what you're talking about is establishing a best practice.
That's exactly right. Best practice. There were, right now there's 7 counties involved in this process. There are roughly 7 to 8 additional groups, I said counties, but I think villages and cities.
Are they establishing sort of a set of standards by which they'll operate?
They are. And what they do is the things that they find work for them, they have seminars in which the other groups come in once a month roughly, and they put it on the table as to what they do under these projects so that others can pick off from it. So you'll learn from the people that have success.
Good.
And that's what they're doing. So, and the other thing they do is a project track. In other words, they want to know if a project went through, you know, exactly what was done to make this project successful. And when they come in, usually when a developer comes in, the first question they'll ask is, when do you want to be shovel ready? And then what they do, they'll say, well, let's say it's 3 months from now. Let's start from shovel ready, where they want to put the shovel in the ground, and work back. And this is what they need to do. They provide that to the contractor or the developer, and guess what? It works. Well, what's coming up?
Wonderful. Well, there's several meetings coming up. On October 15th at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission, and on that same day at 7 o'clock, the Addison Township Public Library Board. On the 16th at 7 o'clock, Addison Township Fire Board. At 3 p.m., the Pollyant Trail Management Council will meet at Addison Township offices. 7 p.m., the Oxford Public Library. October 17th at 5 o'clock, the Oxford Township Planning Commission Economic Development Subcommittee, but check on that one. And at 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Council. At 4:30, the North Oakland Transportation Authority will meet at their business offices at 4:30. And on October 21st, the DDA, which we talked about today. And on the 21st also at 7:30, Addison Township Fire Board, or Township Board of Trustees, that is.
Oh, okay. No fire board.
No fire board. Well, they were up there.
Well, you can put it on there if you want to. There's nobody in it, but is there?
Right here, right
Oh,
here. It
okay,
says fire
okay,
board.
got it, okay.
They must exist.
Yeah, right. One last
It's on
thing.
the web.
It is, yeah. Well, speaking of web,
Yes.
actually, that's the subject that came up under the Economic Development Subcommittee. They're actually developing an extension to their web system right now for these builders, contractors and everything, where they can actually, from China, for example, key in to our particular township, or they might go to the county first, and then it'll trigger to the township and then to the village. But they will have the ability to actually see what properties are out there. So, you know, I know you speak Italian, may want to speak Chinese.
All right, I see.
With that, we're going to catch you next time. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kinney.
Have a great day. You know what?
What?
I think you need.
At Oakland County Parks and Recreation, we value what you value: family relationships, community connections, good health, environmental stewardship, and economic stability. Oakland County residents and businesses have invested in preserving nearly 7,000 acres of parkland. Since 1966, 13 parks and golf courses have been acquired, maintained, and improved. Oakland County parks and facilities are made possible by millage funds supported by Oakland County residents. For a home valued at $200,000, the homeowner pays less than $25 per year to support the Oakland County parks. With every generation, families create lifelong memories at Oakland County's award-winning parks. From exciting summer escapades and stories around the campfire to brisk fall walks on wooded trails and snowy winter outings, the outdoors beckons year-round. It's time to get up, get out, and get going at the Oakland County parks. Active recreation options abound. Cross-country ski or mountain bike on tree-lined trails. Scale the rock climbing wall. Get your kicks with soccer at several sports fields. Row or paddle a boat on 4 picturesque inland lakes. It's an easy journey. Most parks are just a short drive away. A quick tip: all our parks and golf courses end in Oaks. To find your favorite, just go to destinationoakland.com. Click to pick Oceans of Motion water parks at Red Oaks and Waterford Oaks, the Wint Nature Center at Independence Oaks, Teen Adventures, and even entertainment to go. When outdoor adventures on your list, there's fishing, beaches, boating, playgrounds, and seasonal hunting. The campgrounds at Addison Oaks and Groveland Oaks feel like being up north with plenty of recreation options. Want to get fit? Hit the trails. Oakland County Parks boasts more than 68 miles for strolling, walking, hiking and running, biking, or horseback riding. If the links are your lure, 5 golf courses, including Premier Course Lion Oaks, are conveniently located. Make Glen Oaks or White Lake Oaks your home course. Get an up-north feel at Springfield Oaks, or play a quick 9 at Red Oaks. Our recreation lineup rocks. Learn to swim. Experience an outdoor adventures camp. Take the fast track at BMX, or gain new lifelong skills. Everyone's included. Individuals with disabilities participate in dozens of adaptive opportunities, including a new fully accessible playscape, modified golf carts, and annual events. There's always something special going on at Oakland County Parks, whether it's a classic car show, the Oakland County Fair, a senior golf tournament, or the Ellis Barn Festival. Being green is an everyday practice with nature interpretive programs, wildlife habitat protection, reduction of invasive species, and stormwater management.